Recording in progress.
I call this meeting of the Greenbelt City Council to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Evening. Ms. McKinney? Here. Ms. Pompey? Here. Ms. Pope?
Here.
Ms. Niesel?
Here.
Oh, okay.
On
Good
Zoom.
afternoon. Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Weaver?
Here.
Mayor Jordan?
I'm here. Please join us in a moment of silent reflection, thinking about several Greenbelters, former Greenbelters and present Greenbelters, residents and former residents have passed away since our last council meeting. Elbin Pappy Gruffe, Mary Lou Fisher, and former resident John Ward. Join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Councilmember McKinney, will you lead the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you very much. So first up on the agenda, petitions and requests. This is an opportunity for individuals to make a statement, to pose a question to the administration. We ask that you limit your remarks to about 5 minutes. And if you're in the room, you raise your hand, and after being recognized, you can go up to the podium. You need to state your name and where you live in Greenbelt. If you are on the Zoom call, you can use the Q&A tab to submit a question, or you can raise your virtual hand and we'll promote you so that you can speak. But you do need to list your name. We do not accept anonymous comments on Zoom. And likewise, if you're watching on cable TV or on YouTube or Facebook, you can submit a question to us by email. The email address is questions@greenbeltmd.gov. So at this time, are there any petitions or requests? Let's see, her name's, please go ahead, ma'am. And then you.
Hello, my name is Betty Timmer. I live at 23 Woodland Way in Greenbelt and have been there for 52 years. I've been there a long time. I'm also one of the founding members of the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, so I've been doing that work for a long time too. During COVID, the seniors did the right thing. They stayed home and they stayed healthy. Now that we don't have to worry about that particular part, we'd like to get out in the crowd, do things that are fun, see places, go places. But traveling creates problems. Some seniors don't drive cars anymore. Some people don't have spouses to drive them places. They have to wait for the connection to get places that they need to go, but the fun part's not there. So the rec department, in its eminence, does a trip once in a while for seniors. Let me tell you about that. There are 14 seats on that trip. That's it. Within an hour of announcing this trip, it was filled. And all these other people didn't get a chance to go out of town and see something different to enrich their lives. That's not acceptable. My request is you have to do something to get more buses so that more seniors can get out of town and they can stay healthy and be your good citizens in Greenbelt. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've actually got that something along those lines on the agenda later on in the meeting.
You'll be very happy what's on that agenda later. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Gentleman in the hat behind Mr. Rand, you have a. Hey, good evening. How you doing? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Ehinome Oko.
My name is Pastor Greg.
And we represent our church right down the street underneath the DMB Pizza Light Place International Ministry. And we're coming to you guys just to introduce ourselves, get familiar with this meeting, and extend a helping hand wherever it's going on in the community, and we can help. And we also invite you guys to our church. We have our youth group get together on Thursdays for young adults that we're involved in. And we just appreciate you guys, and appreciate the city. We've been here for about 6 years now.
About 6 years, yeah.
Yes, yes. So, and we found out that this meeting takes place, and we're like, okay, we should just see what's going on around Greenbelt and stuff like that. And we're just here representing our church. Our pastor is Reverend Deanna Wolby. And thank you for having us, Greg. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I would just say, like he said, we appreciate you guys for having us here, and we just want to be here to connect with you guys more, get more involved, so we can let you guys know like what resource information that we have and what resource information that you guys have as well, so we can connect better as a community. And we also have some flyers here of different types of services that we have during the week, our Bible study, our Sunday services, our prayer night services as well, where we just want to help enrich the community, be there for one another, and just so that we're here to support each other the best way possible. And just like he said, if there's any like events going on throughout the community, we want to make sure that we want to take part of it, be there to show support, show love, and just build up with each other the best way possible. Like he said, our church is located down the street under DMV Pizza, and we would love to have you guys there, and we would love to be part of your community as well as we continue to grow as well. And our Reverend sends her love to us, to you guys, and she would love to be here at the next meeting as well.
Hey, thank you very much for stopping by. I pass by there on Sunday mornings quite often, and I've wondered because there's a lot of activity and whatnot. So thanks for stopping by, and thanks for the invitation. You might want to know we do have a Greenbelt Interfaith Leadership Council, GILA, which meets on I'm not sure they meet on a monthly basis, but we'll put you.
It's like a Thursday.
Thursday. We'll see if we can put you in contact with them. You can come out and join together with some of the other leaders of the faith-based organizations in Greenbelt. It's an open door. So appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us, and God bless you guys.
God bless
Thank
you guys too. We appreciate you.
Thank you for coming to visit. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, I think Mr. Rand, you're next.
Hi, Bob Rand, 19T Ridge Road. I had sent the council an email earlier. This is, I've got two short requests. The first one is to please increase the ARPA support for the food gift cards for the St. Hugh Food Pantry from $5,000 to $10,000 per month for the remainder of the year. This recommended increase was part of the Greenbelt People First reallocation proposal that we presented to council on February 7th. Marianne Tretler, who manages the food pantry, has confirmed that the need is there. She is currently serving 50 Greenbelt families per week and usually runs out of gift cards the third week of the month. Please also consider continuing this support through December, possibly by buying cards in advance in October or November for distribution until the end of the year. Marianne is under the impression that the ARPA support will end in September, and I'm hoping that there's a way that can continue through the end of the year. If this additional support started in June, this would redirect $35,000 of the remaining unallocated funds, which might be $500,000 or $600,000. I haven't seen a spreadsheet recently, to families who need support. And number two, I request that you more clearly indicate your support for justice, equity, inclusion, and diversity initiatives in Greenbelt in your council goals and planning framework. I see little reference to supporting efforts underway to create a more just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive city government structure and culture. I really didn't see much in there at all about the government. I do see a few references to equity, inclusion, and diversity in some goals and objectives, but don't see council support clearly stated in the priority headlines. The agenda for tonight suggests that you won't allow much discussion on this item number 16. I look forward to a future session that allows more public feedback. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Mr. Orleans? Mr. Summerall.
It was requested that I initiate my petition tonight with a reminder to council that this evening, the Army Corps of Engineers, along with Treasury and Ag, are having a public meeting in the log cabin on Barks site. And it was requested that I remind council that it's timely again to make a comment I think the 30-day period is about halfway through, if I recall correctly. And it's important to note that whatever else is being planned for the capital region's roadways by 2050, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, Treasury, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Army Corps of Engineers are planning on widening Edmondson Road to have access for that facility. So I'm complying with the request. Council, please comment in the remaining time that the Army Corps is having comment. I'd like, on my own behalf, to say that I've been waiting now for 2 years for an apology, which may never come, for an action council took in closed session in response to some comments from the Public Safety Advisory Committee. I'm still waiting. I understand some time ago that the interim city manager had determined from the city solicitor that the action council took in closed session was not inappropriate. It was my hope that the precedent was being established at the last regular meeting that the city solicitor would again be in regular attendance for our regular meetings so that he and others, or he and I, could engage a colloquy as to how that action council took was appropriate. I'm still awaiting a further response from council and city management and maybe the city solicitor with aggregate regard. I'm restating my request about the work session from more than a year ago with Denise Knight. Subsequently, we've had another session with Denise Knight and Franklin Park Management. I heard her say distinctly a year ago that they had done a survey of the homeless, and the results of that survey indicated that the homeless population frequenting Franklin Park were from out of town. I asked that night and subsequently every regular meeting when I'm here on time for a copy of that survey and its methodology, and I'm still awaiting that. I did receive a communication from the inner city manager that I misheard what was said, but the inner city manager was wrong. I heard what I heard that was said by Ms. Knight. More recently, I've been asking for the statute enabling council to appropriate city money to allocate from the city's treasury money for the bonus for any employee, in this instance, the former interim city manager, and I'm still awaiting a guidance from council and or management, although I'm asking council for it since it's council's action in closed session. What right do you have to appropriate city treasury money for a bonus for any employee in closed session? It should be a public action and discussed in public so that the public could comment. I thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Yes, City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, we did draft a response to at least the two items that Mr. Bill Orleans have mentioned. I don't see him in the package, but I'll make sure that both council and Mr. Orleans gets a copy of that correspondence that was drafted in response to previous requests from his office.
Thank you very much. Are there any other petitions or requests? Well, hearing none, let's move on to the next item on the agenda.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
Mayor.
sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I know it's not a practice to respond to petitions or requests immediately, but there is an item that Mr. Bob Rand brought up regarding the food subsidies, and I want to provide a brief update because it is in a future agenda item for council. When we discuss our ARPA update, we are prioritizing food subsidies recommendations to council as part of the reallocation. So the next meeting, we expect to bring a reallocation recommendation to council regarding these food subsidies. So we have two programs that are designated to run for funding to go away in September, and that's St. Hughes and Meals on Wheels. We have tallied the cost of maintaining those two programs through the remainder of the calendar year. That's December 2024. Those two programs would total $32,000. So we anticipate that being part of the recommendation as part of upper reallocation. There are two other programs that we've looked at, and those are the Master Touch Food Pantry Program and out of restoration. And we're looking to see if we can make room for that, as well as the Thanksgiving and Christmas food boxes that are provided during the holidays.
Also, I'm hoping that we can provide a little bit of support to Trinity Assembly of God for their refrigeration car that they maintain and distribute. They do a large food distribution, and Greenbelters do benefit from that program, and we've not really provided any support to them at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, please.
We have one request online. I believe it's Miss Natalie Williams.
Okay. Ms. Williams, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mayor.
Hey, welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been a resident of Greenbelt for some time, and I've always been using the Greenbelt Animal Shelter with the last two supervisors over the years to trap and spay and neuter cats. And recently I was told by the present supervisor that that program has been discontinued. I have done some homework in between that time and saw where it's not on the budget that that program has been discontinued. And if I'm not mistaken, the budget goes on till June. And over the years, I've not been told that that was a reason as far as funds were not available for that program. And I would just really like to know why that has been discontinued. I know that Franklin Park and the city of Greenbelt has a very familiar tie. And that is where I live. And that is where I've been bringing cats to the shelter over the years to be spayed and neutered. Some have been adopted, but the goal is always to spay and neuter and cut down the cat population in our neighborhood. And now it has been discontinued because I was told that there are no funds for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You're correct. Our budget process will be finalizing the budget in June. And we've had a work session with each department within the city. So as a part of that, we talked public safety, and our animal shelter is in that part of the budget. City Manager Somarone, do you have any comments on?
We've discussed this over today and last week. The TNR program was grant-funded program, and that once that money was utilized, the program ended.
I believe we're looking for some additional grant funding, but that's where we are right now.
We were just talking about it. We've mentioned it at the work session, I believe. So I think we wanted to look into if we can get another program.
We've explored, we've discussed opportunities on various times, including redoing the animal shelter. So we are looking for make improvements at the animal shelter. At the moment, we don't have an opportunity that we can pursue to reestablish the TNR program. But we will keep looking, and we'll explore options that are available.
I just wanted to say, are there any surrounding areas that offer that we can maybe refer people to who are in need of this program?
I will look. Our animal control team is not here. I know Terry is in the room, and she is a library of knowledge for the city. But since animal shelters moved to police department, I don't think she's been up to date with that. But.
Well, maybe if we can find out, because I know there was an email from this lady as well, and we've so we need to and see if we can find out if in the meantime we can find someone that is close to us that offers that program, and maybe refer to that, and until we see if we can get our own program started again.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. If there are no additional petitions or requests, we need to move on to the next item on the agenda, which actually is the agenda, the consent agenda. I'm wondering, are there any modifications to the consent agenda? I actually have one. I'd like to pull item number 24 off of the consent agenda and back onto the regular agenda. Are there other modifications, amendments, changes?
I would like to move item 16, which is the review of the council planning framework, to the consent agenda. But I would like to request that it is made in its own work session by the summertime so that we can have a full conversation. We have a pretty packed agenda today, and I want to make sure that conversation has enough time for public comment, as well as for council to have additional discussion about that.
I'll second that.
And what about my pulling off item number 24? Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor of the approving the consent agenda as amended, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that passes. And so that would bring us to the agenda itself. Are there any modifications to the agenda tonight as amended? Okay, I'd like to move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's great. Hey, so next, I'd like to make a motion to special order 7B Memorial Day Poppy presentation, to move that first under presentations. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. So that brings us to 7B Memorial Day Poppy presentation. The American Legion Post 136 will hold its commemoration of Memorial Day on May 27th. The officers and members of the American Legion Auxiliary will attend the meeting and present a tribute in honor of the annual remembrance of those who've lost their lives in combat while serving in the armed forces. So we've got a number of the Rusty Berg and just a number of folks here from the Ladies Auxiliary. Would you like to go to the microphone, or would you like to come up front, or what would you like to do?
Wireless mic as well that we can use.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine.
We have one for you, Rusty. No worries.
Wow. Sandy Dutton, I'm with the Greenbelt Unit 136, American Legion Auxiliary, and May is Poppy Month and has been.
You may need to speak a little.
You got it, Sandy.
Sorry, my name is Sandy Dutton, and I'm with Greenbelt Unit 136. We're part of the American Legion family right here in Greenbelt. We wanted you to know about the poppy, and we're thankful that all of you are wearing one, and we appreciate that very much. After World War I, the poppy flourished in Europe. Scientists attributed the growth to soils in France and Belgium becoming enriched with a lime from the rubble left by the war. From the dirt and mud grew a beautiful red poppy. The red poppy came to symbolize the bloodshed during battle following the publication of the wartime poem In Flanders Fields. The poem was written by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, MD, while serving on the front lines. On September 27, 1920, and I remember it well, the poppy became the official flower of the American Legion family to memorialize the soldiers who fought and died during the war. In 1924, the distribution of poppies became a national program for the American Legion family.
And I'm Rusty Begg, also a member of Greenbelt American Legion Auxiliary, a former Greenbelt resident. I think once a Greenbelter, you're always a Greenbelter. It's very hard to get away from it. We handed out copies of Flanders Fields. I think you're all familiar with that, but I found a poem that I think epitomizes the meaning of this little crepe paper poppy that we handed out earlier. I am not a badge of honor. I am not a racist smear. I am not a fashion statement to be worn but once a year. I am not a glorification of conflict or of war. I am not a paper ornament, a token. I am more. I am a loving memory of a father or a son, a permanent reminder of each and every one. I'm paper or enamel, I'm old or shining new. I'm a way of saying thank you to every one of you. I am a simple poppy, a reminder to you all that courage, faith, and honor will stand where heroes fall.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the poppies, the National Poppy Day, it's a fundraising initiative as well. I'd like to make a contribution if I could, because the poppy is just beautiful. Is there? Can I throw this over to you?
Write a check, it's fine.
There you go. This is from, yeah. No, thank you for all you do. And looking forward to the Memorial Day program. That's on the 27th? No, it's on the 31st, Memorial Day.
No,
Well,
no, the 27th
The
is Memorial Day
27th.
this year, I believe.
27th is when we're, yeah.
And-
And National Poppy Day is the last Friday of the month.
Okay.
And thank you for reminding us that it is a fundraiser. I just want to comment that in Maryland, all of our poppies are made by veterans, and we do give them some money for making them, and it's a way of them to earn money and feel useful. So thank you for that.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. Looking forward to the 27th. That'll be at the War Memorial here on Centerway. And afterwards, there's a reception at the Greenbelt American Legion Post 136. Thank you so much.
Do we know what time yet? 10 a.m. or is it 10 a.m.?
It's usually 10 a.m.
Do we know what time?
Memorial Day program, 10 a.m. Yes. Okay. Hey, next up is the Municipal Clerks Week proclamation. May 5th through the May 11th, 2024 is the 55th annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed a proclamation that officially declared Municipal Clerks Week the first full week of May. Bonita Anderson, City Clerk, is present to receive the proclamation on behalf of the City Clerk's Office, and Shania Lashley Mullen, our Assistant City Clerk, is also here. Will the two of you come forward? Thank you. Welcome. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is a cornerstone of local governance, serving communities worldwide as the oldest public servant role, and whereas these clerks establish the critical professional link among citizens, local governing bodies, and other governmental levels, and whereas committed to the neutrality and impartiality, professional municipal clerks ensure equal service to all, embodying the principles of democracy. And whereas they act as the informational nexus of local government functions and community activities, and whereas professional municipal clerks are dedicated to enhancing their office's administration through ongoing education and professional development. Now, therefore, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the power vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby recognize the week of May 5th through May the 11th, last week, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. I'm sorry, and further extend appreciation to the professional municipal clerks, Bonita Anderson, Shania Lashley Mullen, and to all professional municipal clerks for their indispensable service and steadfast commitment to communities they represent. This proclamation is for the two of you and for all the city clerks to make things happen in the city. Thank you very much. I don't know if, I know the Clerks Association, Prince George's County and Maryland Municipal League, they meet on a regular basis. Did y'all do anything special for Municipal Clerks Month? Week?
No, we didn't do anything special this year.
Okay, well,
But we do plan on going to Canada, leaving on Friday for the 78th IIMC, International Institute for Municipal Clerks Conference.
oh, fantastic. Well, congratulations. And really, thank you so much for all you do to keep the city running. We could not do it without you. Thank you.
I agree.
Okay, and next up, item 7C, Asian American Pacific Islander American Heritage Month. And I'm going to present a proclamation declaring the month of May as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And Miss Rose Key is here to accept the proclamation. Ms. Key is an instructor and choreographer for the Greenbelt Dance Studio program. She's been in that position for quite some time. She directed the presentation of the classical Chinese dance pieces for the Asian American and Pacific Islander celebration at the Artful Afternoon last Sunday, not this Sunday, but last Sunday, which was extremely well received. So, Ms. Key, I'd like to invite you up to share this proclamation with you. Welcome. I'll read it now. Whereas Asian Pacific Island American Heritage Month is celebrated nationally during May to commemorate the first immigrants who came from Japan on May the 7th, 1843, and whereas Asian Pacific Island American Heritage Month is to honor the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad May the 10th, 1869, which upward to 20,000 Chinese workers helped to construct, and whereas in 1979, President Jimmy Carter signed the first presidential proclamation for Asian Pacific American Week, and whereas in 1992, President George W. Bush permanently designated May of each year as Asian American Pacific American Heritage Month, and whereas in 2009, President Barack Obama expanded the Asian Pacific American commemoration to include Pacific Islanders. So now, therefore, I, be it resolved, that I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim that May is Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month in the city of Greenbelt, and we encourage residents to celebrate and honor the enduring legacy, diverse cultures, and significant contributions of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Their stories and achievements are woven into the fabric of our nation's history, and this month serves as a testament to their vital role in shaping our society. So congratulations. Thank you so much. I don't know if, Ms. Key, if you'd like to say anything about the dance program or anything else, you're welcome.
Hi, my name is Rose Xianqi. I'm the green builder living in the One Garden Way. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the green builder who attend the Chinese dance concert and the being recognized Chinese dance art that warm my heart. I want to take another opportunity to thank big thanks to Greenbelt Community Center, especially Nicole, Chris, who is over there, and Angela, and the other volunteer workers who helped to promote this culture exchange event. And I hope in the future we collaborate more and bring in more diversified art form to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Actually, I got over to the community center a little bit late. I missed the program, but Mayor Pro Tem, you were there.
I was. It was excellent. I very much enjoyed it. And there were several, I think I saw Jenny there, and I think Danielle was there as well. And Silky was there. Yeah, it was beautiful. Some of those, and such young kids doing such, I mean, it was a wide range of ages from young kids to adults. It was a wonderful performance and very enjoyable.
It was amazing. I couldn't stay for the entire program, but it was amazing. It was absolutely beautiful. And it was so it was just calming, just being in that room. And it was just awesome, really. It was so special. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And finally, I do want to mention one other item. National Police Week is taking place in the District of Columbia, honoring the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers across the United States. This week-long observance, which occurs every May, is an opportunity for law enforcement survivors, families of fallen officers, and community members to come together to pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and to show their appreciation for the men and women who dedicate their lives to keeping our community safe. The annual Candlelight Vigil is taking place tonight, right about now at 8 p.m., and Wednesday is the Peace Officers Memorial Day. So, here in Greenbelt, Greenbelt Police Officer Christine Peters will be in our thoughts. Corporal Peters lost her life in 2021 after being hit by a car out on the line of duty out on Evanston Road. So just wanted to mention the fact that that's going on. So at this time, let's move on with the agenda. And the next item on the agenda is a statement for the record, a closed session that took place on April the 8th, 2024.
In accordance with the General Provisions Article, Section 3-06C2 of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland, I move that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect that council met in closed session on Monday, April 22nd, 2024 at 10:19 p.m. in the council chambers. Council held this closed meeting in accordance with Section 3-305B10(2) of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland to discuss public security. If the public body determines that the public discussion would constitute a risk to the public or to public security, including the development and implementation of emergency plans. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss public security, including the development and implementation of emergency plans. Vote to closed session, Ms. Niesel, yes. Ms. McKinney, yes. Ms. Pompey, yes. Ms. Pope, absent. Mr. Roberts, no. Ms. Weaver, yes. Mayor Jordan, yes. Staff members in attendance, Josue Samaron, City Manager, Rick Bowers, Police Chief, Tim White, Deputy Police Chief, Johnny Guy, Police Sergeant, and Benita Anderson, City Clerk. No other individuals were in attendance.
Okay, that's actually.
I read the
item
red. I read the red. I read the wrong
that's
one.
okay.
Sorry, I read B for before A.
No. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain.
Roll call, please. Yes, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes, I was absent, but so I was absent, so I
should abstain.
You can abstain.
I abstained then.
Niesel?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay.
I apologize.
let's-
I need to go back to 8A.
Yes, go
Yeah,
back to
sorry.
8A.
In accordance with the General Provisions Article, Section 3-06C2 of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland, I move that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect that council met in closed session on Monday, April 8th, 2024 at 9:29 p.m. in council chambers and via Zoom. Council held this closed meeting in accordance with Section 3-305B3 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. The purpose of this meeting was to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. Voting to close session, Ms. Niesel, yes. Ms. McKinney, yes. Ms. Pompey, yes. Ms. Pope, yes. Mr. Roberts, no. Ms. Weaver, yes. Mayor Jordan, yes. Staff members in attendance, Josue Samaron, City Manager, and Terry Ruby, Director of Planning and Community Development. No other individuals were in attendance. Council took the following actions: approved the city manager to proceed with contract negotiation for one property acquisition, one dissension, and gather more information about the other property.
Mr. Mayor?
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Mayor?
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Hey, thank you. That would bring us to administrative reports.
Mr. Mayor, there's a hand raised and a voice from.
Yeah, I see your hand. I definitely hear your voice. That was a statement for the record that we just approved, and that's not a debatable item, in my opinion. So I'm not taking questions on that. But please, Mr. Samaron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had quite the week here. We had a Citizens Police Academy graduation that was well attended, great event. We already got folks signed up for the next class. So that's really good. We're excited to have that level of engagement, participation, enthusiasm. A reminder to council and citizens that the Bike to Work Day is this week, May 17th, and we are a premier site for the Bike to Work week events. I've got a brief update on the PEPCO Streetlight Project. We have received our inventory survey data. We have reviewed it and have sent back to PEPCO lights that we are rejecting. So the next step in that process is to reconcile our list with their billing data and hope to come to a resolution on what we should be billed for. And we'll sort out any credits that we may be eligible for, but we intend to pursue any credits that we're entitled to. And then I'll bring back a presentation to council in a work session to discuss the Pepco Lights acquisition, LED conversion opportunities that the city has.
You know, we had a really good discussion at the Four Cities meeting about the Pepco streetlight acquisition proposal and how we might collaborate on that. And it seems that that might be a fruitful endeavor to participate in. Just creating a larger economy of scale would mean that we could maybe get a better price and negotiate a little bit better. So I'm hoping that we can continue with that dialogue, and maybe by talking with the other city managers and city councils and maybe even other municipalities, Riverdale Park or other municipalities, we could work together.
I look forward to that collaboration. I have two firms that are ready to submit a proposal. I need to get bills, a copy of Pepco bills from the entities that want to participate in the study, the assessment, to look at a collaborative effort to acquire and convert our streetlights to LED. So I'll be working on that over the next 2 weeks.
It's fantastic.
Thank you. I'm aware that council has received a communication regarding PSAC recommendations, PSAC being the Public Safety Advisory Committee. So I'm working with the police chief on reviewing all those recommendations. There will be some adjustments we'll make to those recommendations, and I'll report back to council when those are ready. But I wanted council to know that we are aware of the request that you received. We're looking at those recommendations and make adjustments as they're feasible.
Very good.
We picked up the NLC-funded business directory project. The team hopes to launch a landing page for that ahead of the or on the day of the happy hour, not the happy hour event, the meet and greet that the Greenbelt Business Alliance. It's a meet and greet event. So the expectation is to launch a landing page for that work. So we continue that work. We've reviewed opera projects. One of those reviews included the accommodating the food subsidy programs through the remainder of the year. So we're working on that allocation. But what council has approved tonight, there are 5 significant projects that council approved through the consent agenda. That's $13,000 for a workforce development activity. It's also educational activity. We are sponsoring coding and AI summer class for middle school students at the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center. So that's part of our summer camp. Thank you. So that's part of our summer camp offering programs. Council has also approved $100,000 for nonprofit grants, each receiving 4 entities, each receiving $25,000. That's Gay TV is getting a grant, Greenbelt Cinema, New Deal Cafe, and Playtime Project. We've started the onboarding process for 29 recreation staff for the upcoming camp season. So yes, camp is June 17th. So Anne's here. She's excited, ready. The team's getting ready to have so much energy around in our buildings. We have it all year round, but summer camps, it's special. And that's some of my highlights. I welcome questions on the rest of the report.
I have a question about Bike to Work Day, and I don't know, I see Ms. Uderman is in the room. So the pit stop opens up at 6:30? Okay, and then there's a sort of a contingent, that'll be heading down to College Park first, and then down Indian Creek Trail, really heading all the way down to DC for some people who work down there. But also there's we have so many folks that work for NASA Goddard. It's just, it makes me tear up sometimes. It's just such a great thing. So there's the ride out to NASA Goddard would be at 8:30?
Yes.
I think the group will form. I don't think there's an exact start time, but I think the members know who they are.
Yeah, I believe the time was that was to leave at 8:30 from the Goddard pit stop, or from the Greenbelt pit stop towards Goddard. So I think the idea is to gather a few minutes before that, and then take some of the, including some of the way for the proposed Greenbelt East Trail. So some of going that direction, and actually taking bikes on what will hopefully before too long be a protected bike lane. But yeah, I believe the group leaving for Goddard is set to leave at 8:30.
So that's quite a production, just in terms of coordinating with Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments and WABA, and our police department will be keeping an eye on things and probably riding with us. They usually do. So it's an exciting day, and I'm looking for all the council to you need to get the WD-40 out and start spraying down those bike chains, so we can. City manager or someone around too.
I'll have my bicycle ready. Yes.
I was going to say, I think at least in past years, Proteus Bike Shop has been there to do a check of your bikes, so they actually will check things out for you.
I believe they will be.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be bringing my bike specifically to get it tuned up. So
Okay.
I can't bring it. I have a flat.
And there's a number of sponsors, and actually there's a big event down at Freedom Plaza in Washington D.C. and some Greenbelters work there. I've ridden down there in the past, so it's an important time to really acknowledge the practicality, the fact that it's good exercise. It's just a great thing to bike a little bit more, ride the bike to work.
Not by, but not with a bike because I'm off to work.
Okay,
Right
okay.
after. But yes, no, it's a great event.
Any other questions or comments? Or
Why in Public Works for clearing that path, the sidewalk, coming down. What's it, Westway?
Westway behind the
Westway,
synagogue.
behind the synagogue, because the sidewalk was quite overgrown, and I know it may not be our property, but I think we'll at least we're able to help out and clear it and go from there and to see what needs to be done in the future. Who's actually responsible for this area, right? Thank you. I really appreciate it, though. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the recognition. We take credit where credit is due, but I think on this one, I think the synagogue, we reached out to them and they took care of it.
Oh, they took care of it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought it was us. Okay.
Yeah, we
Last
we're.
thing I heard was like, okay,
Yes.
we'll take care of it. So.
Right. It's one of those things where if we see that is an infringement on public safety, then we'll jump on it. But this one, the synagogue jumped in and took care of it.
Then thank you for letting them know, because I know nobody realized, but that some people do walk past there, and it's not it's the brush, but there's thorns on it. So when you walk past it, it's
Right.
not so pleasant.
Thank you.
Mr. Oil, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, because we had the resignation from the reparations committee this evening, or as part of the consent agenda, and I realized that we don't have the reparations commission listed on the advisory boards in terms of keeping track of if we have vacancies. And I know we had 2 alternates, but I'm not sure what the status is in terms of, because I feel like there maybe has been at least one other person who moved away or resignation or something. I may be misremembering, but can we get that added to the list so that we just keep track of that? Because I think if we have vacancies and we have, our 2 alternates get put on, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to that and filling those positions if we need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Councilmember McKinney.
2 things. And so piggybacking off of what Mayor Pro Tem had asked about with the vacancies and just the just updating just information on our website. I know that there have been some questions. I, in particular, got a question around some of our recognition groups, like what's a recognition group, what's not a recognition group with Greenbelt. And I know that I'm not sure how often the points of contact are updated. So in particular, we got a question around the Greenbelt Garden Club and just, are they a group, are they not a group? And so I'm sure there might be some other questions around that. So if we can make sure that our website is up to date on points of contacts, not only with the advisory boards and commissions, but also with the recognition groups, so people know who to contact for information, that would be helpful. And then the second is just going back to the ARPA. I just want to say thank you for giving some time and attention to the Playtime project. I know that they have really been trying to work to try to figure out a good location. So I'm glad to hear that we're able to help support them. I'm hoping that in an upcoming meeting I know we're trying to work and look to connect with Beltway Plaza to see where that project is going. And this is just another example of something that's kind of in the midst of what's going on with that project. And I know that they're interested in that as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Hartman.
Michael Hartman, 2 Court Garden Way. This afternoon, while I was at the News Review, being a copy editor, the question of recognition groups actually came up. And we were trying to find a list of recognition groups, and I couldn't find one on the website. The closest I got was in the budget and in the work sessions, but that didn't include all of the recognition groups. And I'm wondering if there is a place on the website where actually the recognition groups are listed, and if so, could it be made more easily found for people? We needed it for a particular reason today and couldn't find it. Thank you.
It is on the website, or at least it used to be, and that I continue to urge city manager to try and expedite a redesign of the website, because I've seen it there before. Sometimes it's hard to find things.
Yes, I don't know where on the website is, but I'll make sure that it gets uploaded on there. I know internally in our knowledge base, we're building out a page where it has information on the recognition groups, background material, so that for my own knowledge building, I know what each recognition group is, what they do, and the contact information. So we'll try to do something similar for the public-facing website.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Well, that will take us to the legislation section of the agenda. And item number 11 is an ordinance of the Council of the City of Greenbelt, Maryland, authorizing the acquisition by negotiated purchase of certain real property known as Parcel 84, tax ID number 2397727, containing 22.09 acres at a purchase price of $196,000 plus incidental cost for a public purpose. And this is for first reading, suspension of the rules, second reading, and adoption. I'll go ahead and share this information. NVR MS Cavalier Greenbelt LLC, owners of a 22.09 acre undeveloped parcel located immediately to the north of the Greenbelt Station development, has offered to sell the property to the city at slightly below market value, $196,000. The property has significant sensitive environmental features, floodplain, non-tidal wetlands, streams and tributaries and woodlands, and lies adjacent to the city-owned parkland and state-owned preservation land. In addition, the city currently holds an easement on the property to allow for the construction of the WMATA Trail, which will connect the Greenbelt Station community to the Greenbelt Metro Station. The property is also subject to a county-approved conceptual site plan and an annexation agreement that references Greenbelt Station Parkway extending north to the property, through the property, to provide multimodal access to the Greenbelt Metro Station and associated mixed-use development. However, such right-of-way has not been platted. Staff believes it is in the city's best interest to purchase the property for public purchase. The property, which is zoned Regional Transit-Oriented RTO, Low Intensity Core RTO-LC, has high conservation and preservation value, as the property is bisected by several creeks that make up a portion of the headwaters of Indian Creek, and significant woodlands, non-tidal wetlands, and is contiguous to the city and state-owned open space property. Purchasing the property will also best position the city to control all aspects of any future access through the property, including the planned WMATA Trail construction. The easement the city currently holds to allow the city to construct and maintain the WMATA Trail on the property does have a termination provision that would allow the grantor the right to terminate the easement if the city's connection agreement with WMATA expires or is terminated. So the city received 2 appraisals valuing the property at $200,000 and $210,000. There is sufficient funding in the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund to fund the acquisition, and if approved by council, staff will prepare an ordinance appropriating funds from the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund balance to do this acquisition. Funding this acquisition will not impact the city's ability to fund the Greenbelt Station recreational amenities proposed in the FY 2025 budget. Shoot. as staff is proposing to use program open space funds to cover 80% of the cost of those improvements. Those are for the recreational amenities at Greenbelt Station. Ms. Weaver, you introduced this ordinance for first reading at the last meeting. So would you like to introduce this for second reading and approval?
Yes, I move for second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the Council of the City of Greenbelt, Maryland, authorizing the acquisition by negotiated purchase of certain real property known as Parcel 84, tax ID number 2397727, containing 22.09 acres at a purchase price of $196,000 plus incidental costs for a public purpose.
Okay, and can I have a second before we, okay, thank you, Ms. Pope. Our planning director, Terry Ruby, is here. We did hold an executive session to discuss this matter prior to, and we actually did the statement on that in the agenda tonight. Planning director Ruby, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Pretty much explained within the agenda comments our recommendation for us acquiring this property. NVR Homes approached the city after they had other interest in the property, understanding its value to the city for both the continuity, a continuous open space and preservation network, but also with our goal of building the WMATA Trail and so forth. So we followed our procurement process and did a due diligence in terms of obtaining appraisals to ensure that we were paying, actually in this case, below market price for it. And then some incidental costs, one of which would be on your agenda later this evening, would be survey costs and other attorney costs in terms of recordation if council were to vote approval of the acquisition.
Very good. I think the key phrase in this to remember is purchasing the property will best position the city to control all aspects of any future access through the property, including the planned WMATA Trail connection. So that it actually puts us in the best possible position to influence how this moves forward and the connecting road as well.
Sure.
Mr. Roberts.
Well, you know what? I would love to support this if this was a conservation purchase. But what we're doing here, and no one wants to mention, the road. This is about building a road through the property, and which is why we're not buying it with program open space. We're buying it with other funds, so we won't have to go back and pay that back when we put a road through. So that's not something I can put my name on. I'm not interested in buying land, especially sensitive land like this, for the purpose of putting a road through. And that's all it is. That kills it for me. And I want to have parkland purchased, but this is not the right way to do it, and this is not the right purpose to do it for. We should be doing this for purely conservation purposes, not for making it easier for us to put a road through here in the future, which not only will it destroy the wetland and everything else there, because when you put a road through an area like this, you're not just affecting the footprint you're making, you're affecting the wider area, because wildlife and other species can't live with a road. So to me, it's kind of sad because it's not a road we should be going down, in my opinion. So, but I have one vote. I'm going to vote no because I want this to be conserved, not set up to have a road put through it. Because not only that, a road through there is going to negatively, very, very negatively affect the people that live in Greenbelt Station. Because we all know what's going to happen if you put a road through that's connected to the Capitol Beltway, and the Beltway is clogged up on all the time. And when it gets like that, people jump off and they find the closest way to get through, and they'll be coming through your neighborhood. So I'm voting against that as well. And this is just the precursor of it. And so that's why I'll be voting no against this. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, as a resident of Greenbelt Station, I was very aware that that was part of the plan when I bought my house, that was that the road would go through eventually. I actually thought it would be a lot sooner than it might be. But just to clarify, Terry, so that it's the road is only a small part of this. There's a lot more of the land that we're buying that is wetland and would not be the road. It's just and also I believe there's an existing road bed already, an old road bed already in there, which is, I believe, part of the planning for that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
The old road bed is what we're utilizing for the trail. The road the north-south connector road as designed, and actually with the city agreed to fund portions of that through our annexation agreement, that road. So we do have some obligation to that road already, was actually further west, if you will. Now, further east, I'm sorry. With that said, one thing that owning it does allow us to do is control the cross sections of that roadway better. It allows us to have some authority in terms of a complete green street and implementing our policies on that, which we otherwise would lose that voice. We wouldn't lose it, but we would not have, if you will, authority over that. So I think it's important to note that that road has we made obligations towards that road. Now, certainly that road is going to be discussed in future plans and the need for that road and the cross sections of that roadway. But we will have a better position at the table if the property is ours.
And one thing that right now the neighborhood only has one way in and out. So if, for example, something were to happen to that bridge, there is no other way by vehicle in and out of the neighborhood. Now, there are ways to walk in and out of the neighborhood, but at this point it is sort of a dead end, which has advantages, but also has some potential disadvantages. So I think we need to be careful of the traffic implications, but there are also some benefits to having a more direct route for us to get to the metro, for example.
Transit as well, because as you know, the transit really has challenges going into there. So now
Right.
the stops are out on Greenbelt Road, which poses some challenges as well. But
Right.
like you said, these are all the implications and so forth would be evaluated in the future as part of a design and of that roadway.
But we can preserve the parts that we don't need and have more control over roadway design, which I think are positives.
Mr. Orleans? Or Ms. McKinney? I'm sorry.
Also as a resident of Greenbelt Station, most of the people that we have heard from that purchased homes in that neighborhood were particularly interested in having the WMATA Trail completed. And if this allows us to be able to at least control the interest of making sure that moves forward, I think that the residents of the community would be grateful for that.
Mr. Orleans?
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for clarifying what I had wanted to ask about a little while ago, but would not be recognized to do so. One would have thought from the references to the two closed meetings that this is what was being discussed then, but one could have been wrong. I note that in the first of the two meetings on April 8th, closed meetings, council took the following actions: approve city manager to proceed with contract negotiation for one property acquisition, one dissension. Let me guess who that might have been. And gather more information about the other property. So we're talking about more than one property. I presume both of these properties are 84 and maybe 84A. This is unclear in the language that I'm looking at. In any event, if there's a time element, I understand why, although not in closed session, council would have voted to instruct the city manager to proceed with one or more properties. But the second item is up for first reading and suspension of the rules. And if in closed session, council voted to do something and made an action, rushing the process because there's a time element here, which I don't
So
really
you're
understand,
speculating on
then,
things in executive
council's
session. And
doubling
my
the-
patience is really being
Council-
tried by your...
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'm speaking.
You're
It's
continuously...
doubling that.
There's a reason why we have executive sessions, and they're spelled out in state law.
This is not my
And I think
time.
you're
Don't
aware of
watch
that.
the clock. This is
So
not my
please,
time.
if you're going to speak on the topic and
I'm
make a
speaking
relevant
on the
comment,
topic,
please go ahead.
Thank you. Council is doubling the inappropriateness of its taking any action in closed session when it foretells the necessity of suspending rules for a second reading because of the timeliness of this. The first reading tonight, I'm opposed to. And I'll state my reasons why in a moment, but I'm definitely opposed for the second item, suspending the rules and doing it.
Okay, thank
You
you.
did this in closed session. This all should have been discussed in open session. And I reject the suggestion that the timeliness of it would allow you to suspend the rules. In any event,
Okay, thank you very much.
The substance of my concern is this. I had asked Ms. Ruby before the meeting started if there wasn't some plans for this area, and she said no. And then I read this and I remembered, indeed, it's also stated here, and that's why I remember it maybe more clearly, that area is encumbered. There are plans, approved conceptual site plans in the county planning department. Those things live in perpetuity. If NVR never acted on them, they would still live. So my question is this: it's sensitive land, it's non-tidal wetlands, they've already agreed to its stated purpose. And while there's reference here that they can reclaim the property if the agreement with WMATA expires or is terminated, there's no reference to when that agreement expires. I don't remember, but I don't think it's anytime soon. That they can't build on that land. So why are we paying them any money?
Okay, thank you.
They can pay it fee simply to the city.
Thank you very
and
much,
get a
Mr.
tax
Orleans.
write-off, and we don't have to spend any money on this at all.
Thank you.
I hope council realizes that
Thank
you're
you, Mr.
doubling the
Orleans.
inappropriateness of the action you took in closed session, which you should not have done by suspending the
Orleans,
rules
will you
and
have a
voting on the
seat,
second
please?
item tonight. You're complicit in something
Will you
that
have a
should
seat,
not be
please?
complicit in.
City Manager Samarone, would
Yes,
you
sir.
like to clear up, or Ms. Ruby?
I'll jump in and clarify the timing of the ordinance to purchase the property, parcel 84, and the ordinance to make a supplemental appropriation from the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund. A lot of it has to do with timing and coordinating the logistics of how to fund this project. So there are two separate actions that are needed. One authorizes the purchase of the property, which is that ordinance that you're holding your vote on a second reading. The item for the supplemental appropriation is we need the appropriation authority in our budget to spend this money. Reason why you're getting this ordinance at this moment versus both items being introduced is that we were discussing the mechanics of how to fund it. Where were we going to get the money? Did it make sense to use open space funding, which Mr. Roberts made a reference to earlier? We determined that the best course of action to acquire the property was to use Greenbelt West funds that would not restrict us in the way that open space funding would. There are encumbrances on this property. We've talked about the road. We talked about the WMATA Trail. I recognize Mr. Roberts' opinion on the matter that buying the property is prudent. We hear his call for action on preserving the space for conservation, and given the encumbrances on the property, the way to fund this acquisition is through the Greenbelt West Fund. And we needed some time to sort through that, so we could not bring that ordinance for the supplemental appropriation at the same time as the first ordinance. So there isn't anything improper about the timing of it. It's that administration needed to ensure that we were recommending the proper mechanism to preserve all the options that are possible on this acquisition. And using Greenbelt Station funds allow us to preserve all the options available or possible for this parcel.
I appreciate that. Mr. Roberts?
Well, I think it's just important to note that the road bed that has been discussed is a dirt road, an old dirt road bed that was a part of the sand and gravel pits that were there, many years ago that, all the Greenbelt kids rode our dirt bikes on. So it's not a road. There's never been a paved road through that place, and there shouldn't be in the future, because the problem of only having one access can be solved up near Greenbelt Road. It doesn't have to be solved going through a wetland and connecting to the Capitol Beltway. That's the killer of this. When you connect a local road to the Beltway, it's going to very negatively affect that community. So that's a discussion for future. But right now, let's look at the reality. There's not a road through there. There's what's left of a dirt road. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Any other comments from council or from the public? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The motion carries. Thank you. That will bring us to item number 12. This is the second part of this action. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Greenbelt, Maryland to make a supplemental appropriation in the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund in the amount of $225,000 for the acquisition of certain real property known as Plat 84, tax ID number 2397727, Greenbelt, Maryland, and related cost. So a one-time supplemental appropriation in the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund in the amount of $225,000 is needed to fund the acquisition of parcel 84 and related costs, which the City Council is scheduled to vote on this evening. Per the terms of the purchase contract, the city has 60 days to finalize the purchase, and therefore staff recommends council introduce for first reading and suspension of the rules for second reading and adoption an ordinance to appropriate $225,000 to the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund from Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund. So the difference between the $196,000 which was approved for the purchase in the previous item number 11 and the $225,000 is a survey has to be done. The property is not properly platted. And that's the reason why I pulled item number 24 off of the consent agenda, because that really speaks to the difference in funding here. Ms. Ruby?
Yeah, you're correct. And we did add a little extra as well for, like, as I indicated, for legal costs and recordation costs and anything else that may arise as we do our title search and so forth.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Do we need to do, so if I remember, we haven't had to do this very often yet, so we have to do a move for first reading and suspension of the rules, and that has to be a 6 votes?
That's correct.
And then if assuming that pass, then we can immediately thereafter move it for second reading and adoption?
That's correct.
Okay.
Would you like to make that motion?
I can do that. I move for first reading and suspension of the rules, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Greenbelt, Maryland to make a supplemental appropriation in the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund in the amount of $225,000 for the acquisition of certain real property known as Parcel 84, tax ID number 2397727, Greenbelt, Maryland, and related costs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Pompey has seconded. All in favor?
I think we have to do a roll call.
Roll call vote.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms.
This is just first reading and suspension of the rules. You'll have a chance, Mr. Orleans.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, that's the motion to suspend the rules, first reading, suspension of the rules. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move for second reading and adoption of the previously stated ordinance.
Is there a second? Ms.
Do I have
Pope
to
has
read it
seconded.
again? Okay. An ordinance of the Council of, I move for second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the Council of the City of Greenbelt, Maryland to make a supplemental appropriation in the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund in the amount of $225,000 for the acquisition of certain real property known as Parcel 84, tax ID number 2397727, Greenbelt, Maryland, and related costs.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Pope has seconded. Is there any discussion from council? Discussion from the public? Yeah, Mr. Orleans, please let me caution you repeatedly. You've called out across the room. You've called my name loud and in a disruptive way, and my patience is wearing very thin. Please go ahead and make your comment.
Mr. Mayor, you may do what you choose to do.
Yes, I will.
When one is addressing the chair of the
So
meeting,
please
or in
make
case
your
the mayor
comment.
of council, one is supposed to say.
This is not the House
yell,
of
but say
Commons.
loud
This is the
enough to be
Greenbelt City
heard,
Council.
Mr. Mayor,
So
which
please
is what
make
I
your
said.
point,
Not
sir.
you by name, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'm still curious about the other property referenced in the closed meeting notice. This is only being referred to as parcel 84. Does the other property relate to parcel 84, or is it another property elsewhere? And I will say that, again, that I oppose this rushing, this special ordering this for second reading and adoption tonight. You're doubling down on the inappropriate action taken in closed session from before. In any event, I want to say again, not that I'm opposed to liberally spending Greenbelt's money, but this is the wrong way to be spending Greenbelt's money. We should ask NVR to convey it to the city at no cost. We won't have to hire attorneys. We won't have to hire surveyors. We won't have to pay NVR any money. They can't build on it. They can convey it to the city fee simply for nothing. They can take a tax write-off, by the way. They should know this. And the city won't be spending any money for this, and will have all the necessary requirements of ownership when the time comes, if ever, to build that road. Again, you should not be voting to, you have already voted to suspend the rules. You should not be voting on this tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Samarone, any comments?
On the first question related to the second property reference here, I'm not at liberty to speak on it, and I apologize that I can't say more on it.
Well, thank you. So if there are no further comments from council, in this case, it'll just take a simple majority for this to move. So, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. This is it's a big step, but once again, I'll emphasize this measure really provides us with an opportunity to have the best position in the city to control all aspects of future access through the property, to have a seat at the table and to really have a voice on what happens beyond what's already approved and what has been mandated, but in the agreement to acquire the land in the first place. And this isn't a greenbelt road. This is a state highway. It's not like we're building the road.
The documentation on this project is that the city had already committed to building that road and financing that road. There's a $6 million or $8 million. How much was that?
$8 million, Jeff.
Sorry.
Taxpayers will be funding that road at the cost of millions and millions of dollars.
Yes, under our annexation.
An annexation agreement.
There was, I believe it was $8 million total. We did use a large portion of that for the South Core portion.
South Core.
But we did leave some remaining for the North portion as well. And then thinking a private developer thinking at the time would be a partner in that and would actually fund and build it, but the city would also fund and then maintain it.
And of course, that's a very real possibility going forward.
Yes.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem.
When before you go, Terry, when did that annexation occur? Was that the one that was in the early 2000s?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it was.
Okay. So we're talking quite some time ago when actually probably not most, because they built that bridge quite some time ago, yeah?
Yes.
The bridge and the road.
And then it sat there for, it's called the Bridge to Nowhere for, I don't know, 5, 7,
Yeah,
8 years.
for a long time.
Very long time. So, and I just had the annexation agreement up. I think I closed it on how long ago it was, but it was in the early, and then we remember we had to do a correction one after that. So that's when the commitment is made. And then there's further commitments of support within our development agreements and then also in our approvals of certain plans as well.
But so that annexation agreement probably actually happened before anybody except Mr. Roberts on the current council was on council, if it was before 2009.
That's correct.
I believe
So
so,
these
yes.
commitments were made by the city
Correct.
a long time ago.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's not an excuse to carry them on. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on, please. Ms. Ruby, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's going to take us to item number 13 under Other Business, Mobile Security Unit, MSU. It's a memorandum from Brian Kim, Acting Public Works Director. Council approved a pilot program aiming at tackling the persistent issue of illegal dumping in and around three main areas in our city. The deployment of a mobile security unit was a key component of this initiative. The Department of Public Works has assessed the program and deemed that it is very successful. It's an astounding success. That's what this says here. And the illegal dumping incidents reported at one of our main recycling centers within days of the initial deployment has had a real impact. In recent events, staff deployed the the MSU, to address security concerns experienced in Shroom Hills Park. The versatility and effectiveness of this unit has become increasingly evident, demonstrating their utility beyond the original scope of the program. In light of this success and the ongoing need to address security issues in various areas of the city, staff is proposing the purchase of a second mobile security unit from eCam Secure. This additional unit will enable us to address multiple concerns concurrently and provide enhanced security coverage where needed. Staff believes that investing in a second MSU is a prudent step towards maintaining the safety and cleanliness of our community. Staff is seeking council's authorization for the city manager to execute the attached contracts with eCam Secure, totaling $30,390. The funding source is American Rescue Plan Act funding designated by council for this purpose. So, Mr. Kim, are you here?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
So the first mobile security unit has worked out pretty well, just in terms of getting a handle on the dumping there at Northway Field, and actually over in Greenbelt East on
That's
Greenway.
correct. That's correct. But it's been moved to Shroom. It's currently sitting at Shroom.
Right, right. And of course, the horrific incident there at Shroom Hills Park is as the city manager has said, we needed to, and the police chief, make a statement just to make sure that our parks are perceived as safe. This beautiful park, our resources here in Greenbelt have to be protected so that our children and so that we can enjoy the facilities that we have. So this is a step in purchasing a piece of equipment that's versatile, that can be used for a number of different purposes. Do you want to talk a little bit about the second unit or the cost?
It's the exact same unit, so it's very good unit.
Okay.
In terms of location, we have 3 fixed locations where we can use mobile trailers. We have 3 recycling centers that are all subject to illegal dumping. So from a monitoring perspective and surveillance, we have 3 sites that would benefit from continuous surveillance. So having the second trailer in our inventory will help cover those areas. We also have a number of large events that these units can be deployed to. And obviously we have parks, so we could have a use for at least 4 based on the immediate needs, but this would be only your second trailer.
Right, right. Yeah, the technology is changing pretty fast, and the price of these units is evolving. So perhaps getting a second one and waiting a little while to see how useful, how helpful they are is probably the best way to move forward. Councilmember Pope.
Yeah, I just would like to move ahead and ask or recommend that we authorize the $30,390 in order to purchase the second MSU unit.
I'll second that. Is there any additional? Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, I just had a couple of questions, and I think it looked like this was, because I looked back, it was, I think, October that we approved the other one, and I think this was only went up like $200 in cost or something like that, which was good given how much other things have increased in cost more. That seemed good. I did want to ask about that monthly fee for the cameras. There was a note there about the monthly recurring cost of $75 per unit that was optional, but it looked like to get the cameras on the same screen, Is that something we're looking at? Is that necessary, or is there, I mean, I'm not sure, is that 150 a month? I don't know. I'm just wondering if that's something we're looking at and if that's necessary.
It's totally optional. I think the cameras function perfectly the way they are without this option. But again, if you wanted to see both cameras simultaneously, that's what this would allow. So it would. So in other words, if you had a larger viewing area and you wanted to put two side by side, in that instance, I think that you would maybe want to consider this sort of option. But in this case, we're considering 3, 4, 5 different areas. So there's no real value there. But again, if council sees value, if Mr. Salmarone sees some value, we can revisit that.
Where I see the value is for large events, when we have multiple cameras deployed at a single large event, that whoever's the operator monitoring the event, they could have all the cameras be streamed to a single screen.
Okay.
So they could see all the cameras in one place versus logging in and out from a camera to see what's happening. So right now, this one camera is set up on the phones and desktops. So if I want to log in, I just open that app, but it only limits me to that one application. In order to see a different camera, I have to log out and into the other camera.
It just seems like for something that, $30,000, but, I didn't actually do the math to see how many months that does increase the cost of the unit over time if you add that features, but that's not, you would find that in a different budget item and some administrative costs or somewhere if that were something that you felt was necessary.
Correct.
Okay. And I had a couple of other questions about the security services agreement. I noticed some things there. We're talking about a fee for relocation and like a data retrievals and review charge. Is that something, are they moving it for us or are we moving it ourselves?
We are hosting it. So there's that's just boilerplate kind of.
Yeah, well,
they have on there. Some people opt to kind of use that service from them, but we're hosting it, so it's on our.
Okay, that's just why I wanted to check, because it seemed like it could be that case, but I noticed that and just wanted to confirm that. And then the other thing was also, again, there was a note in that agreement about removal of the system at the expiration or termination of the agreement. But we're purchasing the unit outright, so it's not a lease or any sort. Okay, correct. Those were things that stood out to me in terms of could be additional costs to us. But if that's not the circumstances under which we're acquiring it, then that doesn't apply to us. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Pompey.
Can you tell me which dumping site that you guys had this unit installed at and how long it was there?
We had it over at Hanover Parkway, and it was there for approximately 30 days.
Okay, that's a good amount of time.
Pretty much stopped the illegal dumping literally within days. I think we had code enforcement issue 1 citation.
That's great. Okay, great.
It was immediate.
Pretty remarkable considering the problem that was there before. So
that's correct.
And that one citation was for $1,000 citation.
Wow.
Yeah. So we internally joked around 29 more to go, but it all stopped.
Well, it just seems like with the amount of money that we were paying to remediate all of the illegal dumping, that these cameras are going to kind of more than pay for themselves fairly quickly.
So I do have a concern. I think these cameras are a prudent way to increase our ability to have a handle on large gatherings of people that convene in the space and things like illegal dumping. I'm concerned a little bit about the aesthetics and how it makes our community look. The one that is in Shrum Hills Park right now is between the clubhouse and the pavilion, and it's sort of protected by some concrete barriers. And I know that this is temporary.
Yes.
I'd like to think that we can find a better place that still is visible, but it's not obtrusive. I've seen some of these units, and there's like a red and blue flashing light that goes on and off, and I worry that creates. I just don't like the look of it. I don't think that reflects the green belt that we want. So the one in Shrum Hills Park does have a light on top, right, and panels on the bottom.
That's correct. You can toggle those on and off, blue and white lights, actually.
So we'd be able to toggle it off completely, or maybe have a blue, or maybe a pleasant green light up there instead.
Sorry, there's no green light on that unit.
Green light.
Particular unit.
Okay, that might send the wrong signal anyhow.
In Hanover Parkway, we actually turned the lights off. We actually did want to kind of
Right.
catch people and things like that. I think it's two pronged. I think it can also add a sense of security if you had them in the large events. It is a bit stark, but I think given the situation, I think that was the message. You know, we're here, right?
What's the message?
Right, that was the message for that one, because particularly because we're waiting. Well, it's good that we set it up the way we did. We wanted to send a message, and then we got word that the following week students wanted to have a skip day, version 2 or day 2, and so it was important to have that stick out and send a message. Now, that particular unit will be relocating it. If not by the end of the week, whenever Public Works can squeeze it in their schedule, because I'm happy to report that today, Brian Kennel, our Assistant IT Director, reported that we were able to get up the Comcast circuit out to Shram Hills Park. So now the camera that was installed some time ago is functional now.
That's great. That's good.
Yes.
To the happy
So,
days now.
yes, so we'll have a camera that surveillance of that property without it being so intrusive. But for this purpose, it was meant to deliver a message and to deliver a message. But future trailer locations will be more discreet.
Mr. Roberts?
So it's not going to stay at Hanover Parkway the whole time. You know, at the
No, that's
at the recycling center, where you said you had all the success with it.
Yes, that's good. This one's going to go back to the recycling center. We have need for 3 locations that need constant surveillance.
Saying you're going to have that's going to be a permanent fixture there, or what?
No, the two units are going to rotate between our 3 locations where we're having illegal dumping. On special events when public safety needs the cameras, we'll move them to large events like the 4th of July, the Labor Day, and other events as public safety determines is necessary for additional cameras.
So in other words, everyone that goes to the fireworks, they're going to be watched by the cameras.
Potentially.
Yeah, and then, you know, I agree with the mayor on this one. It really doesn't paint us in a real good situation that we have to have these things all over the place. And, you know, while I think you're having success, you know, in the beginning, I don't know that this is going to be able to, I don't believe it's going to be a deterrent to crime in the future, you know, because it's going on all around us and there's cameras everywhere in our society now. So I think we'd be better off investing in more people, put some police on the street, or, you know, that can prevent, you know, can be a long-term deterrent. But just cameras, I still don't have the confidence in them. And it's a lot of money, and how long are they going to last and all that kind of stuff. And we're just creating a society where everywhere you go, you have to be watched. You know, this is literally, you know, 1984 that we're getting into, and I don't really like that, to tell you the truth. I don't think that we have to live like that. I think there's other alternatives, you know, than just monitoring everyone, you know, with every step they make, because eventually it's not going to be effective because people are just going to ignore it. It's what they're going to do. So, yeah, it's kind of scary to me, to tell you the truth.
I agree with your sentiment that cameras do not stop crime. They haven't stopped crime, given the how prominent they are everywhere. However, they are an important tool in seeking evidence, securing evidence after the fact, and that's been their most successful use.
When's it stop being a tool and becoming a crutch? That's the problem.
That's a question that it's a continuous conversation. I think as society, we give up so much of our private data to so many people. Both of my phones have geolocation on all the time. So if I were to go missing, ask for my phone data because both phones are tracking.
Fact at every moment.
Oh, for sure. And at the end of the day, I look to see how many steps I've taken and where I walked, and it's scary that that I knowingly give up this data, and so many of us do it. And so I don't know at what point it becomes a crutch. We welcome the opportunity to have discussion of when surveillance cameras are too much for public events. That's not something that we are pushing. We understand the utility of it, but if council, if our citizens have concerns about having cameras at 4th of July and any other events, we are all ears, and we do not need to deploy these cameras at these events.
Yeah, you know, I think the subject, the general subject, is something that we need to talk about during our community visioning, community-wide visioning, to just get lots of input. But unfortunately, it's the world we live in. I do have a question just about the solar panels and the batteries that run these things. So if there's a week like this week coming up when it rains every single day, how the solar panels are pretty large, so the batteries are good for 2 weeks, or what happens in the winter?
Yeah, I don't know the exact duration. Obviously, if it rained for a month straight, the batteries would probably die out, but it's little to no maintenance. They power up on themselves. We have to kind of service the batteries. We could
Right.
fill them up with alkaline water once in a while, but aside from that, that's it.
So the lifespan be 5 or 6 years, longer maybe?
Oh, at least. I think whatever you're replacing would just be the batteries, obviously. But yeah, obviously those go bad over time. But right now we haven't had no issues with them.
Okay.
Even
and
in
you-
rainy days. I mean, we've gone 3, 4, 5 days with rain over at Hanover. Wasn't an issue.
Some big fires going on up there in Canada right now, so we might have a lot of smoke this summer. Any other questions from council? Mr. Orleans?
On this topic, I would say that we have 2 other surveillance issues coming before council on the May 29th meeting. That's the police radios and license plate readers. So if council wants any information, any reports on license plate readers and that kind of technology, please let us know, because it can be a sensitive issue.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Mr. Orleans?
Thank you. Some of my questions might be answered had I looked at the full package, and I've not had the opportunity, so I apologize if they're answered there and not here. I heard the suggestion that there are recurring costs. Did I also hear a statement that we won't be having recurring costs with this? I'd like to know that. But in any event, I certainly agree with Councilmember Roberts that, and maybe some of the rest of you, it sounds like too, we should really talk about how much we want to endure a life spent being surveilled. I look forward to that discussion. It's been suggested in the past and we've never had it, but I look forward to it. But I agree with Councilmember, we should not be welcoming more and more cameras surveilling us throughout our day, even if we're not dumping or not raising havoc in other ways. The point is, maybe some people think that it's cheaper. We pay once, or maybe we have a few recurring costs, and we don't have to deploy a fully compensated police officer at a location here or a location there, or we don't have to erect a gate where people would have to drive to dump. I myself frequently will recycle late at night at the public works facility, because that's when I get access to a car. I mean, I have access to a car. And since my landlord, and I've said this before too, doesn't hire a private carter that segregates out the recyclables from the regular trash, and it all is thrown into the back of the same truck, meaning it's all going into the landfill, including recycles, I'm such a swell fella. I take my recycles to Buddy Attic, the recycling facility there. But, you know, if it's a problem, if people are dumping oil, as has been suggested, or other things there, then maybe I'll have to forego that opportunity to do that late at night. Maybe there should be a gate there. The question is, there are things other than surveilling ourselves that we can do. And if there are recurring costs to this, and it may not just be recurring costs for monitoring the camera, there's somebody looking at that camera. I don't know whether that's real time or after the fact. That's a cost. If something is seen, then a real-time police officer has to try and apprehend the individual who's doing whatever she or he should not be doing. That's a cost. It would seem to me in the long run, we could protect our republic if we choose to keep it, and protect our privacy as much as we can, and save money, save our city's municipal resources by deploying people rather than the cameras. It shouldn't be me, unfortunately it is, and tonight Councilmember Roberts, that says we shouldn't have as much surveillance as we do, but we shouldn't. And I'm damn sad that most of our council is going to say, let's deploy more surveillance cameras.
Okay, any other comments? Anybody online?
No, I don't see any hands raised online or any comments posted.
Okay. And there's a motion on this one. Yeah, there's a motion that's been seconded by Ms. Pope. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, it appears to be 6-1. Okay, next up is item number 14. It's Visualize 2025 from the Transportation Planning Board. Visualize 2050. Did I say that correctly? Visualize 2050 Air Quality Conformity Analysis. The list of projects solicited by the Visualize 2050 National Capital Region Transportation Plan and the FY 2026-29 Transportation Improvement Program, TIP, is scheduled to be finalized on May the 15th, 2024, at the meeting of the National Capital Region Transportation Planning Board, TPB. This work effort addresses requirements associated with the attainment of the Ozone National Ambient Air Quality Standards, the NAAQS, volatile organic compounds, VOC, and nitrogen oxide, NOx, are ozone precursor pollutants, those three elements. Note that the air quality assessment doesn't include greenhouse gases, which are not considered a criteria pollutant and therefore are not covered by the NAAQS. The list of projects also does not include ongoing or candidate projects that are not regionally significant for air quality. Later steps in the process include adding projects that are considered non-regionally significant for our air quality and finalizing the financial plan and project list for Visual 2050 in fall of 2024, drafting the Visualize 2050 plan and FY 2026 through 29 Transportation Improvement Program will be in the winter of 2024, followed by a further public comment period and approved in June of 2025 by the Transportation Planning Board and subsequently by the COG Board. From a local perspective, it's worth noting that the widening of Maryland 201 was removed from the project list. A project related to the ramp on the BW Parkway, Maryland 193 Greenbelt Road, is also listed as removed. Construction of an interchange at the Greenbelt Metro Station is listed for construction by 2030. Many of the concerns expressed by written comments and presenters in person at the previous TPB meetings were about the various highway expansions and toll lane projects, especially I-270 and I-495. COG staff produced a FAQ, frequently asked question memo, specifically about the I-270 toll lanes project. There are especially concerns about the express lane project on the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, the I-495 Southside Express lanes, impending future plans to extend the Blue Line included in that. The Virginia Department of Transportation has included letters in the materials committing to converting one of those lanes for future rail lines when needed. A letter promised by the Maryland Department of Transportation regarding the I-270 toll lanes is not yet available. So these are some of the general concerns about the process not directly addressed in the climate change goals, and the general dearth of transit projects compared to highway projects is concern also around equity and whatnot. Mayor Pro Tem Weaver, you've been following this issue very, very closely, and you've been active in the Transportation Planning Board, and you've caucused with the other municipalities and heard the preparation briefing by the Maryland Department of Transportation today. So what do you know about this, and what are you looking for from council?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because it is, I think, a fairly significant vote, and I'm representing Greenbelt on that vote, so I wanted a chance to talk to everybody about it. I think some of the things that we are, as well as previous councils, have been on the record against, but I just wanted a chance to bring it up. And I think actually the Maryland 201 project was one that Mr. Orleans asked about earlier that related to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, but that was actually removed from this list of quality of projects for this air quality conformity. And my understanding is that 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 means that it won't go forward at this time, and that they have to do this air quality conformity process. And things being on this list doesn't necessarily mean that they will move forward to construction, but on the MDOT preparation meeting today, it sounds like if they do take something off or of the list that's already there, that does require some revision and sort of going back to do a new analysis, maybe not a full new analysis, but at least a partial analysis. So it is fairly significant to have this list be even though this is not the final list for Visualize 2050, it's good to try to have this list as complete and not have things that come off of it later. So there were 4 things. So I do have a little bit more information since after the meeting today. And I don't know if Ms. Ruby was able to figure out anything more about that ramp from the BW Parkway. There's not a lot of information on the list. It's just listed there and it's then listed as crossed off. And so I don't know much about that. And then as noted, the interchange.
Could that be the NASA ramp?
That wouldn't be BW Parkway though, because that's.
There was, the
No,
ramp.
that's I don't know because it said it was from Maryland. Said it was from Maryland 193.
Right.
It's listed and that would be BW Parkway and.
So maybe it's an upgrade. There wasn't anything about the maglev on there, was there?
No, I did not see anything about the maglev on the list. I think some notes that came up related, because some of the concerns were the toll lanes. What MDOT said today was that actually they are administratively asking to have removed the 495 East lanes. That will be stricken administratively. So that is so that is actually, that's a good thing. They're taking that off. MDOT is voluntarily taking that off. There was a lot of conversation at the meeting about I-270 and the toll lanes up there. I think there are especially some concerns by the city of Rockville and Montgomery County about one of the sections. And there is a map of that link that's in the agenda of the I-270 toll lanes project. There were some concerns about segment D specifically. And so MDOT is working on some compromise to make sure they address the city of Rockville's and Montgomery County's concerns. They also talked about the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit. So these are all ones that are not necessarily directly related to us in Greenbelt, but I think are good to know about. Right now, the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit is coded as a study, and the preference from Charles County and I think Prince George's County is to put that in as construction. MDOT would prefer to leave it as a study for that. But they're, I think, also, again, negotiating with those counties, so there may be some more information forthcoming. So those seem reasonably positive in terms of either things that were removed that were concerns expressed or working with the local jurisdictions to come up with a compromise that is acceptable for those parties before Wednesday. I think the biggest one, and the one that I think I probably would want to make sure that that I have the will of council on, is the 495 Southside Express lanes, because as noted, VDOT is going through the NEPA process now for adding 2 express lanes. They have a letter that they say they're providing assurances. They're saying that if rail goes across there later, they will, they have designs. They showed some slides that say, we'll take one of the toll lanes and turn it into a rail line. They're going to write into their agreements with the P3 partners for the tolls that will be converted to rail later on. I think you have to decide how enforceable that really is. There's no examples. They offered language from an I-66 project, but that conversion to rail lanes hasn't happened, so there's not actually evidence of how to follow through on that. So I think that's the sort of thing, that's the one that is I think of the most concern, and Eric Olson was on that meeting as well. I think there may be some more information coming out, but it is likely that some of these things will be separated out for separate votes. So I think that's one. I think in general, a lot of the plan seems worthy to vote for, but that's one that if it gets separated out, I think my inclination is to, at least at this time, to vote against it. The way the proportional weighting works, Greenbelt's vote is like 0.5% in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, so that's sort of what I'm thinking. I just would love to hear comments and see if there's agreement on that in terms of that. Assuming that it goes to the separated out and there's a vote specifically on that south side. Because that, again, it's not one that directly expresses affects us here in Greenbelt, but it does affect our regional transit, which is something that I think many of us care about.
Yeah. First off, I'd like to thank you for caucusing with the MDOT and with the other municipalities and the other partners on the Transportation Planning Board. Our stance, Greenbelt Council's stance on widening the Beltway and adding toll lanes is well documented. And I think every year, for a number of years, we've in writing transmitted a letter or strong opposition, along with the other municipalities along the way. So the South Side Express Lane proposal, I would have no qualms about your voting to oppose it.
And I will say, though, that that is true, but a lot of council hasn't been on council when those votes have happened, which is why I think it's important to bring it up now, because we have, I think there's been some stuff since I've been on council, but certainly Jenny, Danielle, and Amy haven't had a chance to weigh in on that formally. So.
Okay. Well, so if there's move to change the position on toll lanes and widening the Beltway because of the new council, we can certainly entertain that. But I have a feeling that there's not.
I don't necessarily. I'm not saying they're for it, but I'm just saying that
You're giving us the option.
that they have not had an opportunity to formally weigh in on any of the things that past councils did.
And I appreciate the update on the projects that have been removed from that TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, because it's always a concern. It's also good to hear that nothing related to the Mag Lab has been included in that plan.
Well, and again, this is the list for the air quality conformity analysis.
Right, I
So this
understand
is
that.
not actually the things that are on the tip for 2026 to 29. This is just the air quality conformity analysis. But not having them on this means that they presumably won't be added later.
Right. I know traditionally it's been a real problem just trying to reconcile the recommendations for the tip around air quality, because the recommendations from EENR usually are very stringent, and just thinking they usually don't agree with what the Transportation Planning Board, and it comes back to the Board of Directors. We have to try and figure out how to balance them. So, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I wouldn't get too excited about the 201 issue because that's going to be taken up by a different government agency. That's not going away. In fact, they're up there planning for it right now. So that's not exciting. Unfortunately, some people want to make the 2050 plan into sheep's clothing when it's really a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I think it's going to continue to be that because it's all about widening the highways and having more of the same stuff that we have in the toll lanes, so people that have plenty of money can just speed by everybody else. And but it's all also about a way of life we have here that really is not sustainable, and no one wants to admit that, unfortunately. We can just have more highways, more cars, and a never-ending cycle. And this 2050 plan, that's what this is. So I hope you vote against it, because that's what we need to do. Otherwise, we're going to have a wider beltway and a wider 270 and all this stuff that, we've been saying that we're against for many, many years. And so that's the bottom line, is we have to vote against this. And, regardless of what our, impact is, it's the speaking out against it, which is the most important thing. Regardless of whether our vote is worth this much or that much, the fact is the TPB is extremely flawed, because the MDOTs and SHAs should not even be involved in that voting, because they have nothing but a conflict of interest. Their job is to build highways, and so they get to sit there and vote on whether they should build a highway. So they're kind of promoting their own self-interest is what they're doing. And they're being given more power than we have to stop them. And it's leading really to the destruction of our communities and our planet ultimately. So, that's the real big issue with the TPB is who's pulling the strings. And you've already pointed out that you don't think we have much a grip on that string. So that's the real problem, because as you know, I was there for a long time, and I pay attention to stuff and how they put out their little computer programs and all that stuff. But please just vote against it, because that's what we have to do. Thank you.
Well, I think there are sections of it that may be pulled out there, and I do actually think it was positive that MDOT voluntarily removed that 495 East project. I mean, that was MDOT removing that project for that expansion of the 495 widening and express lanes. So,
I wouldn't bet on it.
Well, they did.
Wouldn't bet on it.
Okay. Let's see, Ms. Niesel or other council members, questions or thoughts about this, the Transportation Planning Board and support for widening the Beltway and change that around?
No, I just want to say thank you to Mayor Pro Tem. This is a lot of information that you are synthesizing for us to make it so that we can understand. So I appreciate your leadership on this and keeping us informed.
Well, I have to say that the meeting this afternoon was very helpful to have some of the people who have been on the doing this longer explain some of the things, like some of the more things about the proportional voting. It was very, very helpful to be able to draw on other people's expertise when I really haven't been going to these meetings except since January. So it's a very long list of projects to read through as well.
Okay. And the Transportation Planning Board's role in COG is very important. In most other regions, in this region and throughout the country, federal funding for transportation comes through the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO, and that's the role. That's the function that the Transportation Planning Board has here in the DMV. It's just complicated because you do have two states and the District of Columbia departments of transportation putting forward proposals. And let's face it, Maryland and Virginia and DC don't agree on a lot of things.
Yeah. And I will be going down to the meeting in person. I often attend them because they do them in the middle of the day, so I often attend virtually, but I know this one is important, so I'm going to be going down in person.
Yeah. And I want to urge you to, talk with some of the other municipalities, Rockville and Mr. Harris in Gaithersburg has been around for a long time. He's a good person to talk with.
Yeah, Rockville was on the call earlier today, and then I did talk to Stuart Adams from College Park over the weekend. So.
Okay. So that was just for guidance, basically. We don't really need to take a vote on anything.
No, we do have some. Do you want to entertain public comment?
Oh, yes. Mr. Hartman?
Michael Hartman, 2 Court Garden Way. As often happens, Mr. Roberts said something I was going to say, that the removal of the 201 expansion just doesn't amount to a hill of beans if the feds want to do it for the Bureau of Engraving. But I do appreciate your interest in this, and I know that you can be very passionate about your ideas. I remember way back for the trail when you were in front of Green Aces, fighting for that trail to from Greenbelt Station. But I would hope that you used your abilities in networking with other like-minded people to not only vote against this stuff that you're going to be voting against, but also raise a voice about that, because I think it's really important that if you don't have the power of the vote, if it's a small part of the vote, you do have the power of persuasion. And I'm hoping that you will work very hard to promote the ideas that the council comes up with and take a leading role in some of those issues so that Greenbelt is heard and recognized and respected for the ideas that we have concerning these, because you're right on track with your thinking, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I think there do seem to be some structural issues in terms of if we're trying to meet climate goals and how this planning happens doesn't necessarily incorporate all of the things that we find important in terms of meeting our climate goals. And I do think that does seem to be a structural challenge with this process just in general.
Mr. Orleans?
Thank you. I'm certainly glad to hear that you're going to be going there in person this month. A couple of things. One, while 201 has been removed from the air quality conformity analysis, it would not be in the tip. It doesn't have to be. They can remove things. MDOT can remove things. Other agencies can remove things because other things are in the works. It's the Department of Treasury and to some extent the Department of Agriculture and the Army Corps of Engineers have their own plans, as you suggest you know. And the Transportation Improvement Program can be amended at any time. It's amended, I don't know, Rodney, 10, 20 times a year sometimes. And most of those amendments don't go before the Transportation Planning Board. The bylaws allow them to go just before the steering committee. And some of those steering committee votes are on very, very large budgeted items. I'm not going to try and remember, but a multi-million-dollar project about 6 or 8 years ago never made it to the TP board for as an amendment. The steering committee handled it. So and the Bureau of Engraving and Printing is not going to be widening at Edmonstone in this next year anyway. It would have to be in 2025 if they start construction. So it would go to the TPB as an amendment, a Maryland Department of Transportation amendment or a federal agency amendment, and likely it would be approved by the steering committee without ever going to the TPB. But that's only Kenilworth Avenue, Edmiston Road. You're correct. The air quality conformity analysis is what's being considered Wednesday, but that's a forerunner to the TIP. And if it's not removed from the air quality conformity analysis, it will be included in the TIP. And when the TIP is voted on, what's in there could be another fight then, but we know there's going to be a fight Wednesday. Mark Cornick indicated as much. And while Greenbelt has a minuscule vote based on its population, Greenbelt and all the other small municipalities, in conjunction with Montgomery County and Prince George's County, and this time maybe the District Department of Transportation, which might ordinarily support the other two dots, may not, because there's active questioning, if not actual opposition stated last month. There's very probing questioning by members of district council who would inform DDOT's vote. I'm not saying that DDOT will join Montgomery and Prince George's County and all the small municipalities who would benefit from it being removed from their air quality conformity analysis, but it's possible. And because it's possible, we ought not say, well, MDOT has removed this or that, therefore MDOT folks are good guys. You've been on council a couple of years, you've been active before that, you've had other reasons to read about MDOT. Trust me, MDOT are not very nice guys. Individually, they're fine, maybe some of them. But as an institution, as an entity, as a state entity, MDOT is not fine. You should question whatever it is they tell you. Of course, I was not on this call today, so I don't know what was said there. But it's important to support the movement, the motion made by Montgomery County, supported by Prince George's County, to have both the upper beltway and the lower beltway, the south side, items removed from the air quality conformity analysis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I just think, I mean, it's clearly important, and yeah, it does make a difference what's on this list. I think that's why there's been so much conversation about it, right?
Okay, thank you so much. Hey, let's move on to item number 15. Authorize city manager to purchase a shuttle bus. And this is a memorandum from Ann Udemans. with floor plans, proposal, contract amendment, and specification proposals. The Recreation and Public Works Department support the purchase of a second city passenger bus. Staff believes this initiative aligns with staff's shared goals of enhancing community services and addressing the needs of the public. The proposed bus is known as a 12x2 and includes a wheelchair lift and can accommodate 2 wheelchairs for a total of 14 passengers. Both the Recreation and Public Works Department recognize the importance of this endeavor and the positive impact it would have on our community. The Public Works Department is committed to providing our full support throughout the process, including the acquisition, operation, and maintenance of an additional bus. The funding source for this purchase is a reallocation of American Rescue Plan funding designated by Council for one electric vehicle shuttle bus. There are no EV shuttle buses available in the market for the seating capacity. Larger EV buses are costly and do not meet the city's immediate needs. So, Ann Uderman, would you like to say anything about the need and the timeliness of this request?
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
My colleague Brian and I recognize how important transportation is here in Greenbelt. We had 2 of the passenger vehicles that were used by the Greenbelt Connection, but the older one, the former Berwyn Heights vehicle, has been decommissioned, so there's only 1 connection bus now. In addition to that, our senior trips are thriving. And if you look at the memo, we had to put a very large number of seniors on our wait lists. We were able to accommodate some of them by renting a charter bus. Charter buses are extremely expensive. And so we have an opportunity. There is a bus in the pipeline. We may be able to act quickly if council approves this purchase and actually end up with a second bus by the end of June. So it's just an effort to provide more services in terms of trips. Also during the summer, we transport the children in the summer program from Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center over to the Greenbelt Aquatic and Fitness Center every Friday during the summer. Without that second bus that's been decommissioned, the program just won't be able to function. So there's so many opportunities and so many ways we could better serve the community if we had the second passenger vehicle.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mr. Kim and Mr. Samarone, I just have a couple of questions. Council in its prioritization of capital purchases, such as vehicles, prioritized trying to acquire an electric vehicle, an electric bus. So I was wondering the feasibility and the process that this bus, which is not an EV, came available. But I just can you describe the search you're trying to identify an electric vehicle that would have this capacity?
Yes.
Where did you look and how, 'cause we made the prioritization, it was about 7 or 8 months ago, a little bit longer than that.
Longer than that. Brian Kim did his own research with his vendors. I reached out to other vendors that we have.
What'd you find out, Mr. Kim, just in terms of electric vehicles, buses?
I personally didn't have a lot of luck. I actually looked last year. I re-engaged 3 vendors that had websites up and running, but obviously they weren't to the levels where they were just marketing websites.
Right. So they were marketing,
I believe
but
Mr. Salmarone had a bit more traction with a vendor.
I found a vendor that could not provide a bus of this size, but could provide smaller shuttles, a 5-1 configuration, 5 regular seats and 1 wheelchair accessible, that is close to this price range. Recently, just today, with Michael Hartman's assistance, we're able to connect with another provider that does do a custom build, where they build the chassis and the body of buses. So I was able to connect with them. But their price point is between $280,000 and $330,000 for a configuration of 2-2 layout. 12-2, meaning 12 regular seats and 2 wheelchair accessibles. So up until today, we couldn't find any. We were told by our vendors that there wasn't a vehicle on the market that had testing that was readily available. So that's the challenge we're facing up to today. I don't know, Michael, if you want to jump in on what.
So this company that does the build out from chassis, and is that a local company? There's a company in Beltsville that does that for handicapped accessible vehicles in particular, right up off of Route 1.
The one that I spoke with this afternoon is Motives PS. They're based out of California. And speaking with the sales rep, they are a Sourcewell vendor through the National Auto Fleet Group, which would be part of our cooperating purchasing process, but they're not local. And their delivery time, as I spoke with them this afternoon, was a 10 to 12 months.
12 months.
10 to 12 months delivery time.
The cooperative purchasing, that's through COG?
It would be through the Sourcewell contracts, Sourcewells, and the contract under Sourcewell is with the National Auto Fleet Group.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So this is something, I think if we are committed to acquiring an EV bus in our fleet, I think we have to look at the long term and make the long-term commitment. The way this project, the need for this project was presented to me was in a parking lot after a seniors meeting that there was a strong urgency for the bus right away. So the team internally got discussing the matter and wanted to prioritize this, and this is what we can offer in the short term. And just to resolve the issue right away, if council wants to see this as an EV option, I think we have to plan on the long term and add additional funding to make this happen.
Yeah. Also, I guess with the American Rescue Plan funding, if it's something that would happen next year, we couldn't use the funding for that. It would be too late.
I think that's something that we could probably work through if we put in the request. I think we certainly would purchase the vehicle if it was available, but if it has to be custom made to us, I think there might be language in the rules that we can hold on to that would allow us to use this money for that purpose.
How
but
much
I would have to explore that.
How much would that vehicle cost?
The all-in cost with the body that I was quoted to me by Motives is $280,000 to $300,000 per shuttle. So they're $330,000, correct? What could vary the cost is the add-on. They're add-ons to the vehicles that we get to select. So, but a bare bones sounds like a bare bones would be
two
$280,000.
wheelchair lifts, or would that be additional?
It'd be 2 shared lifts. It would be included in the price.
Okay, Ms. Pope, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I think I think this is a good opportunity, and I think we can use the ARPA funds to purchase this particular bus, this shuttle bus, because we are obviously in need of a shuttle bus. And coming out of the meeting, not last meeting, the meeting before last, I happened to run into Mr. Salmeron in the parking lot, and immediately said I had to put a plug in for the bus. And I'm glad to hear that we actually found a shuttle bus, right? Because we do need one. One we have has only room for 12 people, I believe, and that's just not enough, especially when we're offering trips and we want our seniors to come back out and provide a safe mode of transportation. So I would move that we go ahead and approve the purchase of this shuttle bus tonight. And of course, we can always look in the future. I'm sure we may be able in the future to acquire another bus and work towards that as well. But I think for now, we should take the opportunity and provide and give the opportunity to purchase this bus.
Are you making a motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, so for these senior trips, I mean, because this is the same size bus as we already have with the connector bus. So is the idea that then, because it's not larger, but we would use both of the buses for trips, is that the idea?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Is it, so just thinking about a capacity issue, is it better to buy another small bus like this? Or would we be better off looking at something larger that then would have more flexibility in terms of having one bus on trips and then still maintaining the connector bus for the local transport?
On the size, this bus would serve for an additional transportation option for these trips, camps, but also serve as a backup to our existing bus. So it has the potential of becoming our regular bus use. We are concerned about the mechanical challenges that our current bus has, and any repairs to it means our bus is offline. So this would easily replace that vehicle. This proposed shuttle bus will replace that vehicle. In terms of utilization, or what's the cost benefit of having something this size, and speaking with the team, that this size is one that more readily can be driven by regular driver's license holders, while the majority of our drivers at Public Works have CDLs. This less than 15 passengers.
Yeah, as you tick up, you would require a CDL driver.
Yeah, anything above that will require a CDL. So this one fits that profile, that driver profile, that anyone with some training can use it, can drive it.
How old is the existing bus?
6 years, 7 years.
Okay, so not excessively old, but at what point do we need to look at replacing that other bus?
Another couple of years. I have to look at the replacement list, but the bus specifically gets a lot of wear and tear. It's it's not like highway driving. It's a lot of short trips, a lot of stop and go. So it's really hard on the chassis and the vehicle itself. So the wear and tear on the bus is a lot more than what we would normally see on a regular vehicle. It's what we've experienced that.
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking that it would, I wish that there were closer to the same cost electric buses out on the market, because the difference between $125,000 and something we can get now versus up to $330,000 and 12 months is fairly significant. But it sounds like maybe we may be due to replacing the other bus. So I guess I have mixed feelings, because I would love to do the EV, but that's 3 times the cost practically. So I would love if we vote to do this tonight, because we have the immediate need, and that will solve our problems for summer camp, maybe this summer, and as well as a backup. But as we start thinking about replacement, clearly we need more lead time to get an electric vehicle, and we need to budget more for it. So I think this is a situation, and this has come up in the Transportation and Infrastructure Services meeting with NLC and things, is just the question about the availability of some of these larger electric vehicles. There's just not as much out there compared to the small personal vehicles. And there's still even not a huge number out there, but there's not enough of the more heavy duty electric vehicles on the market. I wish there were more.
Councilmember Pompey and then Councilmember Roberts.
I just want to echo what Mayor Pro Tem Weaver said, and I think if, council does approve the purchase of this bus, and I think that we should, because I think we need it in the short term. We need this bus, but I would like as we're looking towards replacing our next bus, that we plan for that next replacement to be an EV bus, and hopefully they're going to become more available, because that's generally how it works, right? They sort of trickle onto the market, but there will be a point at which they're more available. Hopefully that will happen. That will coincide with our need. So that's all. That's just my comment.
Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, appreciate it. I was wondering, what's the average distance that your trips go on?
Oh, gosh. Anywhere from, we went to NASA recently, NASA Goddard, anywhere from 4 miles to 40 miles, I would say.
So we're not going like to, Philadelphia or something like that.
Well, I've heard that some of our active aging participants would like us to consider weekend trips.
Okay, yeah.
But currently, we're just doing relatively local day trips.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to do a long trip, though, you really need a coach. You need a rental bus or, a coach that has a restroom and other facilities for people. But if we're just, we're going to NASA or whatever, okay, the 2 buses, that would be fine, I think. But if we're going to be going, long distances or semi-long distances, it's really not practical to be driving 2 buses to that place. But, I guess that's okay for now. But I really do think in the future, if we're going to do longer trips, then we should just realize that we're going to have to appropriate some more money for, a rental bus or whatever it is, a coach. So there can be some comfort there, because I don't think the 15 passenger buses are all that comfortable, especially in a long distance. I don't think that would be a good thing. But yeah, for this one, I think this is a no-brainer that we just got to get this bus.
Mr. Hartman.
Michael Hartman, 2 Garden Way. First of all, as a very happy participant in the senior program, in some aspects, Laura and I went up to Amish country, and it was really great with the seniors. And so I totally support having better transportation for the senior program, because I think it's awesome, and it's something that gets people out of the house if they want to get out, and provides transportation for folks who don't have transportation, and experiences for people who would not otherwise experience those things. Now, as far as the bus is concerned, the memo that went out, that was sent out by REC and Public Works, sadly did not even mention looking at electric vehicles. And so I would like to see that when a discussion is made or a proposal made, that be included in any memo that goes to Mr. Salmeron, that an effort was made and that it be documented. When I read that, it took me about 10 minutes to find 4 resources that provide electric shuttle buses. And the fact is that, like, Motive is in California, but they have provided transportation vans and buses all over the United States, in New Jersey, New York. And so the fact that they're in California doesn't preclude them from providing services or vehicles all over the country. As far as the whether you get this bus or not, that's as always, it's a balance between need and opportunity, and looking at what our goals are. And so I'll leave that to you to figure that out. But just as a side issue, the University of Maryland just got a grant for $40 million to switch over about 75% of their bus fleet from diesel to electric. And that came from a Department of Transportation, Federal Transit Administration grant, which included $1.7 billion in 46 states and territories. And I'm wondering if we're not doing enough to look at these opportunities that the government is giving for incentives for doing this. And I think that if we did that, we could do more long-term planning. And so I like Councilmember Weaver's plan about the next time when the current list goes out. In the 1970s, when we were fighting for Transbus, in the 70s, the cities were very concerned about federal regulations demanding that they have low floor, accessible transportation buses. And the solution for that is that not to go out and buy a whole bunch of buses, but that at the end of the life for each bus, that it would then be an electric or accessible. Then it was accessibility. But the same principle works, that as a bus has the end of its life, you replace it with an electric vehicle, an accessible vehicle, and that way you turn over your entire fleet, and the pain isn't as much as doing it all at one time. So those all take planning, and we have the commitment. Last thing I'll say is I really want to thank Mr. Salmeron for reacting so quickly. Right after I spoke with him, he had already had this marvelous conversation with the Motive folks about that, and I'm very, very pleased and happy that we have a city manager who actually takes advice from people and acts on it and doesn't just slough off people off. And so I want to thank Mr. Salmeron for acting so quickly and getting information that would help you make your decisions. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, certainly council, is committed and has made the commitment to moving the Greenbelt fleet towards expeditiously towards electric vehicles. So council has constantly persuaded and tried to work with staff to make that move. It's just the balance. We've got an immediate opportunity here, which seems cost effective. It's not what council wants. Council would like to have an electric bus, but if it's a difference between $100,000 and $300,000, and now versus a year from now, maybe it's a pretty stark choice. I guess we can take a couple more comments. I really feel like council's ready to vote.
And on the cost perspective, with the EVs, there's less maintenance. So I think one of the things we have to consider when we're doing our long-term planning is that from a fuel and maintenance perspective, these vehicles are meant to cost less to operate.
I gotta take exception to that. That's not the case. Electric vehicles are way more expensive to operate, and it's being proven out already with the vehicles we got. Yeah, it's not. It's a lot of sensitive electronic stuff and expensive stuff. So it's you'll find out. But it's a cost we're going to have to bear, apparently.
My colleagues are strongly urging me to move to a vote. Is that?
You have one comment.
Mr. Schachter, please.
My back thanks you. I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. At the most recent Senior Advisory Board Committee meeting, this item was discussed fully for the second time. And at that meeting, the idea got what I would describe as a bear hug of support when it was realized that the proposal would not only help senior citizens, but help children as well, and especially children from Franklin Park. What could be sweeter than that? Yes, we all care about the environment, but you'll have an opportunity to get the electric bus the next time around. Seize this opportunity now to help the two most needy groups in our society, children and the elderly. This is the time to take that opportunity and serve those two relatively vulnerable groups. And I'm speaking, I think I can say that Betty and I are here tonight speaking together on behalf of your Senior Citizen Advisory Committee.
Well, thank you so much. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Hey, I'd like to special order. I pulled item number 24 off of the consent agenda. I'd like to special order that so that it's next. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, the reason why I pulled that off, it's an award of contract parcel 84 boundary survey legal description. So the title attorney assisting the city with that purchase of parcel 84 has informed the city that a boundary survey and legal description of the parcel is needed for the city to purchase the property. Per the terms of the purchase contract, the buyer is responsible for having a survey completed. So Charles P. Johnson, that says John, Charles P. Johnson Associates, one of the city's on-call engineers, has submitted a proposal to complete the survey work and legal description at a lump sum of $23,800. The proposal is based on competitive pricing. Per the terms of the city-approved contract, funding for this work will come from the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund. So staff is recommending that we work with Charles P. Johnson on this. I just pulled this off so that it would be a complete description of what we're doing, and it accounts for the difference between the amount of money for the purchase and the amount of money coming from the Greenbelt West Infrastructure Fund. So I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the staff's recommendation and agree to have Charles P. Johnson and Associates complete the boundary survey and legal description of parcel 84 for a lump sum of $23,800. Is there a second? Second. Ms. Pope has seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, that motion carries. So that'll bring us back to item number 17, which is council activities. Mayor Pro Tem or anybody want to?
Let me pull
go
up
off
the,
list there?
Up. So here's the events from since the last council meeting. I think there were a few that I wondered if would, because I know several of you finished the Citizens Police Academy, but I don't know if you were able to make I think only Jenny said she was at the graduation ceremony. I'm sorry that the others of you didn't get to make it to that.
I don't think I got an invite, but
oh, to the I think it was mostly for the people who were graduating.
It wasn't just
Right, it was just
a little pizza party.
Yes.
And yeah. Also,
Now-
some
now-
homemade desserts. Maybe I shouldn't tell you that.
Desserts?
But it was very nice. It was really, really nice. The chief was there. The city manager was there. It was great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Congratulations to everybody that made it through.
There were like 13 of us, I think. They said it was the biggest,
The biggest
class they've
class,
had
yeah.
in years.
Right.
So they were very encouraged by that. And I encourage everyone to sign up for it when they do another one. I think next spring. I don't know when they're going to do another one, but I really encourage folks to sign up for it.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff on the weekend of May 4th and 5th. I don't know if anybody.
Well, I was talking to the city manager about the Green Man Festival over the weekend, and it's such a unique festival. It's a sort of a kickoff to the festival season. The weather was pretty good. There was a downpour, but generally speaking, it was a beautiful day. Roosevelt Center looked great, and Public Works setting up the stage and just having everything. It just looked great, and there's fantastic entertainment, a wide variety of entertainment, and it's such a quirky Greenbelt thing, Green Man Festival. So it was a lot of fun.
I would also note that I got to do the Artful Afternoon, the spray painting art activity at Spring Hill Lake. Right? It was a lot of fun, although I was wise to not do it the other day because I definitely got paint on myself and on my clothing, and I planned for that. So that was, knowing myself, I didn't participate the weekend before, but I dressed for painting, and I was pleased.
It's fun. I almost went back, but I thought, I'm going to let someone else have a spot. It was really fun, though.
Danielle?
I realized there was one thing that I didn't add to the list, but on Friday I participated in COG's Human Services Policy Committee meeting, but in particularly they were sharing the regional point in time homelessness results, and so that is supposed to actually be released on Wednesday, the full results of that study. So Prince George's County has really been involved in looking at the number of youth in particular that are experiencing homelessness, and they are saying at about 1,600 or so youth are homeless, and then about over 40,000 are at risk at being homeless. So this study, Prince George's County is really actually taking lead in the region in looking at ways to take a really community oriented approach to addressing youth homelessness in particular. So when the study and results do come out, I'll make sure to share it with council, but it's still supposed to come out this week.
Hey, and I saw the crop hunger walk on that list, and I was able to get out there, and I must have done about 2 laps. I was out there just walking and walking, get my steps in.
Okay. And then, so that was the one you mentioned was on the 10th?
Yes, it was the 10th.
And it was the
COG, Human Services Policy Committee. And they had Prince George's County presenting actually on that committee, even though it was for the region. Prince George's County, members of the team that's looking at this study and conducting this study.
It's an important study that happens every year.
We'll make sure to get a copy of that and circulate it, Council.
So, and I think some of these actually might have been on the wrong date, so I'm going to fix that. And then Hank Irwin's memorial service, was that for Friday?
That was Friday.
Okay.
That was the 10th.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you put it in right. I think the Green Man ended up on the wrong day, so I'll fix that. Farmers Market ended up on the wrong day, sorry. That was probably my fault. There were a couple of things that had been added that nobody had indicated they attended, so if there were some of those that may have just been as placeholders, but the shared documents are there for Benita to reference, so if anybody needs to add anything, please do so.
Fantastic. It was pretty intense, just so many things going on over the past couple of weeks. Hey, so that leads us to item number 18, council reports. There is item number 19 for meetings. So please note the regular meeting and second public hearing on the budget has been rescheduled to May the 29th at 7:30 p.m. so that it won't fall on Memorial Day. So it's going to be on a Tuesday instead. During the work session on May the 6th, council discussed the possibility of moving this meeting from the 28th to the 29th. A motion is required to formalize the rescheduling of the May 28th regular meeting to May 29th. So would someone like to make that motion?
I move that we reschedule the regular meeting currently scheduled on May 28th to May 29th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilmember McKinney is seconded. Is there discussion? And if there is none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the meeting. We can sit here for a little while longer, but someone would need to make a motion that we adjourn.
Let's adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, this meeting